I'm gonna die.
I'm gonna die.
Welcome back to Turning Up the Heat, the show where we lock the best and the brightest and the hottest on in their entire lives and grill them with questions till one of us taps out or passes out. I'm your host, Eric Eby, and I gotta take a big breath for this one. I got Jordan Wildman here. This man is the myth, the legend. He's amazing. This man sold 8 figures with the real estate the last 2 years. He owns over 50 doors, does commercial real estate, does residential real estate, flips at least 2 properties a month, and is my best bud. I'm so excited to have you on here, stud.
Let's go.
Gosh, I have so many questions for you, Jordan, and the sauna is going to bring them right out of you. You can't fight it. The first thing
Just
people,
like the sweat.
The first thing people think when they get in the sauna is it's actually really hot in here. So we'll warm up, we'll start sweating, but as we get ready, tell me a little bit about your backstory. Because one of the things I've noticed from everybody I bring on the show and all these successful people that we spend our time around is that usually their backstory isn't just sunshine and daisy. So give me why Jordan Wildman became Jordan Wildman.
Yeah, thank you, buddy. So, you know, I've lived in Fort Wayne my entire life. I would say we definitely grew up poor, but it felt like we were in middle class. I think a lot of people, they live in what's called the rat race, which is where they work to pay for their lifestyle, to continue to work to pay for their lifestyle, and they never achieve what is called financial freedom. And so I realized that from my childhood, that's exactly what my mom and my stepdad did. They worked so much, but they also inflated their lifestyle more than the income that they were bringing in. So they ended up having to work multiple jobs just to pay for their interest and for that to maintain that lifestyle. What people don't realize is the cost of doing that is you end up never actually living a life truly authentic to what you actually want. You end up just keeping up with the Joneses or living for the moment versus living for purpose and longevity. And so
you see a lot of people doing that. It's just like the debt spiral mixed with the house that's too nice for your expenses, the cars that are too nice for your expenses, the things that are too nice for your expenses. And I mean, the problem with spending outside your means is that it's literally outside your means. You just can't do it. So obviously that evoked some desire in you to put yourself in a place where you could have means of high and sustain it.
100%, man. I mean, what it taught me, and I'm so thankful that they experienced that. I think a lot of people could be like, well, you know, like you made me poor too, or whatever the stupid victim reason that you can come up with. I think as a child, you either succumb to your environment or you defy it. And both me and Ruby, we both defied our environments because it taught us what not to do. And I couldn't even be more grateful for that if I tried. Like my stepdad worked in the same factory for 34 years, and I just knew for me, that is something I never wanted. And not to say there's anything wrong with it, but it's just, you know, people that come into your life, they come in for a season, a reason, or a lifetime. And even if they are the complete opposite of what you want, or like they have something that they're doing or choices they've made that you completely disagree with, that is getting you closer to who God has called you to become. And so like that really helped me to learn what not to do. However, I did not know what to do. And so Ruby and I got together. We bought our first house when we were 21. We kind of were trying to do the delayed gratification thing, but we didn't really know any special way to do it. We didn't know anything really about real estate investing or just building wealth in general, how money really worked. And so all I thought I had to stay loyal at whatever job I was at. So I worked at Meijer as a butcher for over 5 years in a very toxic work environment. And I can tell you, like, your environment defines who you're becoming. Like the book Atomic Habits, James Clear, like if you design your environment, it will create the man that you are going to become.
And if you're in a toxic workplace where every day there's negativity and negative people, you're just going to become that thing.
Whether you want to or not, because eventually the willpower runs out. Thankfully, I'm very stubborn, and I had very good willpower. Like, I showed up there every day with, like, a smile and was positive, and, you know, I'm sure I wasn't perfect, but I remember the day that I left there, I actually took a 50% pay cut to go work at Costco, and dude, I bawled when I left. When I looked out back at the building and saw the Meijer logo, and I realized, like, I didn't need to stay there that whole time, and I just thought I had to. Like, my piece of advice, if you feel stuck in your job, like, leave. Just leave. Believe in yourself. You are the greatest return on investment you will ever make for your entire life. And that job is not the thing getting you to your dreams. You are.
Yeah, I love that so much. I'm actually dealing with that with Jenna right now because she's in the process of stepping away from her job. There's an attachment. We have a mental attachment to these things, but also
it becomes a part of your identity.
Yeah, but when you realize at a certain point that this is not my identity and this is not even helpful for necessarily the path that I want to be on, it gets easier and easier to step away. Well, how many years ago was it now that you left Costco?
It's been over 5 years.
Over 5 years. Because this is the funniest thing about our friend group, which is so amazing, we're all blessed, is that I remember meeting you, I think, a year after you left Costco, maybe shorter, maybe a little longer in that area. You know, I remember meeting Dakota, he was just leaving car sales. I remember, you know, meeting all these guys, Seth, wholesale was just becoming a thing.
Yeah.
You know, like all of these people with these little companies and these little ideas, still working jobs, still doing stuff. And then we fast forward years ahead, we have LTD making $5 million a year. You selling 8 figures of the real estate and owning all this property, and like we see the successes transcending. And one of the things I have to give credit to is that there's been so much massive self-development along the way. We all read the books, we all do that, but really even the seminars, we've been to these seminars together. I think you might be the most self-developed guy I know, though.
Thanks.
In the best way, like how many seminars, self-development conferences, events do you think you've done?
A lot.
A ton. Like I said, every week when we talk to, every single week when we call, it's just like, where are you? Oh, another self-development conference.
Yeah.
Probably a good example for anybody watching, because I think a lot of people, like myself even, will go, man, $4,000, that's a lot of money to spend. Or, man, the traveling there, the week I got to take off. They don't realize the value in what they're doing. And you're someone that's definitely spent at this point, 6 figures plus, many six figures.
Probably close to $200,000-300,000.
Exactly, on just these self-development courses. But look what it's given you. Look at your life. So give me a little bit on why that was so crucial and how you feel about self-development.
It's really funny. One of the quotes that I have learned, it's a Stoic quote, the more that I know, the more I realize I know nothing. And I think one of the most dangerous places you can be in your entire life is if you think you have it all figured out.
Yes.
It's so funny, when you become a master of anything, you realize how much more there is. Like, it's that awareness, right?
Yeah.
One of the things that Alex Hormozy said that I fell in love with was, like, if you make $50,000 a year and you want to make $1 million a year, that is like not knowing the difference, but like of the things or skills that you need to be making that is costing you that every single year.
Yes.
So like if you make $100,000 a year and you want to be making $1 million, it's really only a couple subtle tweaks.
Yeah.
Like truly, in the scale of what it is, it's really only a couple different mindset shifts, a couple different ways of doing your time. And like, dude, look, like, because you are choosing to be lazy or to not step into your power as a person, which is what most people are the most afraid of, it's actually costing you that difference. And monetary is just one metric.
Yeah. Yeah. I think a lot of people don't ever take the time to question who they could be or what they could be. I think a lot of people have boxed themselves in. You went through school and maybe you were a C student, so now you're a C student person.
Yeah.
You're an 80%er, you're a 70%er. You look at your family works regular jobs at regular workplaces. You're a regular workplace person too. Yeah. Like the idea of vacations, the idea of nice things, these things are just not even just like not for you, they're just not even in your head. Yep. They're not even options that you start the thought process of thinking about. As I've moved into the more successful years of my life where I've been able to travel and I've been able to do things, you kind of see that differential when you talk to people. I'm sure you've experienced it too, where people almost can't even wrap their mind around the idea that multiple vacations a year could exist, or that you could work from anywhere, or that you could be successful, or that you could make, I know a lot of people in the world think if you make a certain amount of money that you're a bad person. There's just like this negative mindset towards it. And it's once you get out of the rat race, out of the matrix, whatever you want to call it, you realize it. What do you think when it comes to you getting from guy working in store who was kind of stuck in the rat race to guy who is massively successful, beautiful life, beautiful house, beautiful wife, beautiful everything? What do you think were the most important things that developed you between those things? Obviously the seminars, but what do you think outside of that?
Well, I would say it starts with, it takes tremendous humility to know that you don't have it all figured out.
Yeah.
You have to be willing to ask yourself some very brutally honest questions, like, why do I think the way that I do? Why do I show up in my life the way that I do? And does it serve who I want to become?
Yes.
And then you have to be brutally honest with who you want to become. One of the best exercises you can do if you truly want to determine what you want to be remembered for is called like a written eulogy.
Yes.
And you just essentially, you give yourself space, at least an hour. Women probably at least 4 hours, but
Yes.
because like they think at such a different depth in a way than men do.
Yeah.
But you just imagine all of the people in your life that truly mean the world to you, and even imagine the people that aren't in your life yet, like your future children, like the future mentors that you're going to meet. You can like if you don't have a lot of those people right now in your life, you can imagine like the people that are coming, because they are coming whether you're ready or not. And so if you are ready, like you can fully capitalize and really add value to those relationships. But imagine what they would say about you at your funeral.
Yes.
And really allow yourself to hear it. Imagine their voice, their face, imagine them standing up in front of your casket, and like purposefully design what you would want them to say and how you would want to be remembered.
Yeah.
And I can promise if you do that exercise at least an hour and then write it down, you will cry. Like it's a very moving exercise, but what it does is it gives you the end in mind. Like it helps you to work backwards then. Because if you know what your end, what you want it to look like, then your entire job is to go become that person.
I love that. There's two things there. So one, I've done this. I love this. I recommend this because I think one of the best things that this does for people is it shows you your values. So it's like when I did this, it's cool for me to be like, oh man, I want to be rich and I want to be successful and I want to be all these cool things. I want this. But really, when I did these activities, the same thing came up time and time again. I want on my deathbed the people say he was the kindest, happiest, most caring guy I know.
Yeah.
That's what I want to be remembered for. Hardest working, fourth, I'll put that on there. Was a couple people that said that in my mind. But like those are the things I care about. So it's like realizing that as long as I'm sticking to my virtues of being kind, caring, and happy, and I'm working hard along the way, then I'm fulfilling my values. And I love that so much. And I think that secondarily is that when people go about doing activities, I think people feel uncomfortable to sit in their kitchen with a notebook. Yeah. It's such an odd thing to me.
You know why though? It's because they don't love themselves, and they don't believe that they're worth it.
Yeah, it's hard, and they almost make fun of themselves in the moment, like in their head.
So do most of the people around them, because they're also not spiritually awoken or have very little self-awareness, emotional intelligence.
Yeah, it's like I said, once you get yourself into the light of understanding that not only are you capable and valuable and all these things, but also that these little activities can front load your value and you can really push yourself forward, then you're like, okay, I should be doing these things. I'm a journaler, so I've been journaling at night, most nights of the weekend, sometimes every day of the week for years.
That's amazing.
For a long time. And the one thing I've realized is that it used to be super. I'm gonna pound it. It looked like a pound it. I'm gonna accept it. But
to Derek Eby.
Exactly. The one thing that I realized through doing that is that now it feels overly comfortable. I don't even feel embarrassed doing it in front of people. I don't feel weird about it. But there was a time period at the beginning where it was secret. It felt like I was an adult man with a diary.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, this is kind of weird. I grew up hard knocks, construction,
and most society would shame you for that.
Yeah. And then, but then you see the value that comes from it. Writing gratitude journals, telling yourself and being grateful. But you notice that the people that do it, me, you, a lot of these guys around us that do the gratitude journals, that do pay attention, are the happiest, the most fulfilled, life's going the best. So if you're watching this and you go, man, I don't want to do any of that dumb stuff, well, expect to stay in your dumb life. Yeah. Yes. You have to evolve to move forward.
Well, you truly become what you think about.
Yeah.
And if you always think I'm not enough, everyone around me is right, I'm a failure, I don't deserve the life that I dream to have. If you truly believe those things to be true and that you are not worth it, then you are never going to achieve them. Yeah. Even if in the beginning you don't fully believe it, you have to believe it to be possible, which takes genuine humility and vulnerability.
Yeah.
Vulnerability is a superpower, and I think that's one of the reasons I'm so able to connect with people so deeply, is because I'm very willing to be vulnerable.
Yes, you are. You are probably the most willing to be vulnerable of any person I know, which I love. Yeah. People love it about you. I would say the best thing about Jordan, that if anyone who's watched this and knows Jordan, I'm just going to be repeating back to you exactly what you already feel and know, so just buckle up. Jordan is the guy that walks in the room that makes everybody in the room feel important, but he's also, and it's a superpower. It's a superpower. I would say that I have it, but I don't have it on Jordan's scale. It's something I aim to do. I'm trying to get to that level. But you walk in the room with Jordan, you feel important. You're 99% sure you're his best friend on the entire planet, even if you haven't seen him. He is like he is amazing at this. But the vulnerability, which is that in the middle of a busy room, in the middle of a restaurant, in the middle of a party, Jordan will take you aside and out loud in front of everybody, start getting vulnerable with you and break things out. And I commend you for it, because the thing is that there's so many people that will stray away from that, and what they do in their stray is rob the people they could have helped from the opportunities they could have brought. There's times where you talk to Jenna and brought so much value to her. In the middle of one of our parties, we're having a party here, everyone's having great. You just grab my wife, pull her aside, and just have a 2-hour fucking vulnerability conference, and she walks out of it amazing. And I've seen you do it with other people, and I just think it's a beautiful thing. I want to commend you for it. How did you get to the point where you felt so comfortable with this role that you have? Because I think obviously you're a very successful man. You're going to make a lot of money. You're going to do a lot of real estate. Yeah. I don't personally even think of you as a real estate guy, and maybe I'm wrong. I think of you as like the giver. I think of you as the guy who wants to help. Yeah. So I imagine that there is a role in the future where you're going to have enough money and enough financial status, enough business big enough that you can really just start putting all your time into developing others and helping others. Because I know how good you'd be at it. Yeah. How do you feel like you've stepped into that role? When it comes to helping people, does it bring you great joy? Why and how is all this happening?
I think one of the things when I did my my deathbed exercise was I wanted to be remembered for helping other people achieve their potential and their dreams.
Yes.
And I think just a gift that God has put in me when I look at somebody and I look in their eyes, which has been referred to the windows to your soul, is I see that beautiful inner child that is the perfect version of them. Yeah. And for most people, they spend their entire lives being broken children in adult bodies.
Yes.
And that doesn't serve anyone around them. No. Like when you choose to play small in your life, when you choose to be the victim of your past or your circumstances and not become the victor and not to change and to become more than you've ever thought possible, you are actually robbing all of the other people around you that need you to be strong. Yes. Because when you are willing to step into that version of yourself, like roar your inner flame, you give other people permission to do the same.
Yes.
And that's a compounding effect. If you get around it, it's so addicting. If you're around other people right now that you feel like they dim your inner light or they minimize you, you need to run away. I mean, you can always offer people the opportunity to set boundaries. Boundaries are so important. One of the things that I believe about true relationship is it's honoring space and holding space and honoring each other's boundaries at a deeper and deeper level. Yeah. But the only way that you can ever have your boundaries be honored is if you know what they are. Yeah. And that takes self-development. It takes going inside, looking under the hood, looking under the water at the iceberg that is your beingness. Yeah. And most people, they spend their entire life on the surface, and that is not a place of fulfillment, and it's truly not a place of authenticity. Yeah, I think in today's day and age, because we live in such a social media driven era, everything is instant gratification. You have everything at your fingertips at a heartbeat. Authenticity is such a breath of fresh air because it's just everything in life is a highlight reel. Yeah, it really is one of these things where I think that people get so lost on it. I just heard a quote that I want to, before it leaves my mind, I thought it was so beautiful. It said, avoiding the hard conversations is creating predetermined resentment. Yeah. You've just decided now, okay, I'm going to avoid pain now so that I can be resentful later. Because you always will be. Yeah. If there's something that needs to be said, a conversation needs to be had, and you're not having it, and that can be for good things too. I think a lot of people think hard conversations are always like, hey, you suck, you're doing bad, da 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 da. Yeah. Almost never, especially if you're skilled at how you speak to people. If you're really talking to people with love and care, it's really a lot more along the lines of, hey, I care for you so much that this worries me. I care for you so much, I need to see this work out for you. Things like that, and you have such a skill set of doing that. Well, that's true love. Yeah. Like if I believe in relationship, if you are truly willing to give feedback, that is actual love. It's when you withhold your feelings and how your boundaries are actually being crossed, or like you said, avoiding hard conversations, you're actually robbing that relationship of the chance to go deeper. Yeah, and I think one of the things that people do in relationships, because I'm going to hop on this one because I think that's a beautiful subject, is that withholding causes tension that should have never existed. For example, anyone's been around me and my wife, you've seen me and my wife are like two
10-year-old best friends. Like, we're like hooked to the hip. But the reason for that is because we are so wholeheartedly honest with each other about desire, about the way we feel, our wants, our needs. Ooh, sauna sneeze is hot. Honestly, I felt
I've never heard of that.
I felt that heat on my arm. But I said, we're very honest with each other about temptation. We're very honest with each other about how we feel. We're very honest with each other about our human needs and all these layers. And you see so many guys that are with a girl where maybe, you know, there's a girl on the movie in a bikini. They have to look away because their girl gets mad, or they're holding back what truly happened on like their trip or their thing because they're worried about. But literally, the level of intense, like honesty that helps things. My fun example of this is that authenticity that brings joy into a relationship. I was just on a trip in Arizona with our buddies, and we went out to a bar at night, and a lot of dancing started happening. And I'm dancing. I love dancing. You know, you can imagine.
You're a good dancer.
You can look at me. I'm dancing, and at 2 or 3 points, ladies came up to me and tried to dance on me. And every single time, I'm stepping away, I'm moving away. At one point, a girl took my jacket out of my hand, handed it to another person, who was someone we were with, my buddy Archie, and then turned to dance on me. And I spun around and showed her my wedding ring. Yeah. And then she laughed, and she was nice. She left. But the funniest thing is, a lot of men would go, "Hold it in. Don't. Oh, we're gonna get in trouble. We're gonna get in trouble." I literally left the club and called Jenna, and I'm laughing about it. I'm like, "Oh my gosh, baby, you won't fucking believe what just happened. It was so funny. If you were here, you would have thought it was so." And she's laughing too because when you create authenticity, when you have trust and you have real authenticity in a relationship, and it doesn't just have to be, you know, your actual spousal relationship with your friends, with your family, with people. If you're holding back true intent, if you're holding back the way you truly feel, you're never going to actually get comfortable with the people in your life. And I think that's a beautiful thing. How do you think that self-development courses have affected your relationship with Ruby?
Oh my gosh. Well, kind of to your point, one of the exercises that I really do recommend to people is what's called a forgiveness exercise. It's a very emotional exercise as well, but exactly what you talked about, when you withhold in relationships, what happens is you end up hurting yourself. You're essentially drinking poison that you're choosing to hold on to, and it's killing you.
Yes.
And so you do that consciously, and you also do it subconsciously without even being aware of you're doing it.
Yes.
A lot of it comes from your childhood. So one of these exercises called a forgiveness exercise that you can do is you write down all of the times in your life that you broke your word, which is a really heavy one.
Yeah. You're like keep counting and counting and counting.
It keeps coming too. Yeah. And you get emotional, as some will hit very hard, and you will remember something from when you were 7. Also, with that exercise, after you've written all that down, you also write down all of the times other people have broken agreements with you.
Yes.
Because without even realizing it, that is subconscious baggage that you are holding on to. Yes. And if you just imagine if you were trying to climb up the mountain of your life, like to your potential, up the journey, whatever, all of that is just heavy weight that you are carrying for no reason. Yes. And it's truly a choice. Forgiveness truly does set you free. That's like one of those old sayings that everyone's like, oh yeah, that sounds cool, but it's true. It actually gives you spiritual freedom in your life. Yeah. Because what happens is, one of the self-development seminars we went through, they really talked about and dove into the concept of abundance. Yes. Because abundance is around you at all times, especially if you are open to receiving it, which is another conversation. But if you imagine like this wheel of what is possible and your sliver of your capacity is right here, what happens is you will fill up your capacity at some point to what you believe to be possible for you. Yes. And until you remove some of the old baggage and let it back out, which is broken agreements, how other people have hurt you, how you're holding on to resentment, how you're holding on to limiting beliefs that don't serve your growth. All of that creates a backflow that doesn't allow new to come in because there's no more space. It's like a hard drive on a computer. Unless you delete some of the old programs and delete some of the junk, you can't add more new, fresh programs that make it better and more optimized. So when you can go down the journey, and by the way, it's a very tough journey because it takes vulnerability, extreme courage. You have to be willing to step out of the familiar heaven to step into step out of the familiar heaven. Oh my gosh. Rewind.
You're good.
You have to be willing to step out of the familiar hell, which is your comfort zone, and step into the unfamiliar heaven that is possible. Yes. And so when you can start to receive new because you've made space, something much greater can exist for you. Yes. Until you are willing to let go and then receive, which is two very different things, your capacity will just stay where it's at, and one of the things that we've learned in a self-development seminar is there is no state of stable, there's no state of comfortable. It's either you're growing or you're dying.
Yep.
Because if you think of anything in life, if you just maintain it, it is dying. Like if your relationship, if you're putting in the bare minimum effort and you're just maintaining, you are not becoming the change that you want in your relationship. If you want spontaneity, more sexiness, if you want creativity, like if you aren't becoming those things for your relationship and your partner, you're actually just dying. The relationship is going to fail.
Yes.
You're a couple hard conversations away from really connecting at a deeper level.
Yes.
You know?
And the more you focus on it, the better. I love that. I love that. I love what you said about getting out of the known hell for the unknown heaven, because I think you see that people all the time. They go to a job and they complain about it. They're miserable. It's a problem in their life. The people at the job are a problem with it. Other families are a problem with it. All these things are problems. But because they fear change, they stay.
Yes.
Because they fear change, it's better to do the known horror than it is to do the unknown, pretty possible good thing.
You know why that is?
Why?
It's because subconsciously, whenever you step out of your comfort zone, out of the familiar hell, your brain thinks you are dying.
Yes.
That is how extreme it is subconsciously, but you don't really feel it on the surface. You just feel anxiety, you feel the scaredness of like stepping forward, taking that leap, because you don't believe you're worth it, or you don't believe that it's possible for you. Which I will tell you, to answer your question about our relationship, the more that you are willing to heal yourself and show up for yourself in your life, the greater you can actually show up in your relationship and become the change that you actually want.
Yes.
It takes truly taking ownership and responsibility for your own life, your own baggage, your own bullshit, and your own healing. Because when you showed up as a healed person to any relationship, you can help others heal. If you've heard the saying, hurt people, it's so true. Like you will see people that talk shit about other people, they talk poorly, they don't want what's best for them, regardless of what past relationship they have.
Yeah.
But the people that are healed can actually show them what is possible to start healing themselves. And when you are healed, that is such a freeing experience that I cannot even express into words.
It is.
And not healing yourself is the most selfish thing you can ever do to the people that love, care, and need you to step up.
I love this. Everything you're saying is this is why we love you, Jordan. This is why we love you. Like I said, it's beautiful. I'm trapped in the hottest sauna in the world with this man. This beautiful man telling me about how vulnerability and how trust and how care and taking care of myself is going to be so valuable, and I can't say enough how much I agree. I have this weird tendency, which I've had to work on. My tendency, which I still think is way more valuable than some people's, is I always felt my whole life because I had to take care of my family a lot. A lot of times I was the normal one, I was the black sheep, I was the healthy one, the happy one. So I had to be the mediator, the middle one, all the time. And what I found over time was I created this idea where if I'm not doing my best, I'm selfishly robbing the people around me of the good life they could have, because I need to be capable at all times of making that better. That did turn negative at times in my life, because this perfectionist mindset with this backup plan of, if I don't do perfect, my wife will be hurt. If I don't do perfect, I will hurt her life. I will hurt my friends' life.
I won't be enough.
I won't be able to give her the life she deserves. I won't be able to do this. Realizing at a certain point that I am enough and I am valuable and that I don't need to be perfect in order to achieve all the great things I want to do really helped me along your path. Like while we dive into this stuff, I'm sure you're not a perfectionist, but just like all of us are in business, there's a hair of it. You can't be in business like this without it. Yeah. How do you balance that?
It's very hard. I think honestly, you need to have some remembrance of where you've come from, because what happens is, Ed Milet teaches this very eloquently, I believe, but you are so much closer to the dream life that you never thought to be possible than you would ever imagine. Yeah. You're honestly a couple phone calls, a couple relationships away from changing your life forever. Even in real estate, you are one deal away from changing your financial literacy, your financial picture for the rest of your life.
Yes.
That's exactly what happened to me, because I believed it to be possible. What happens is, though, most people will not believe that it is so much closer than they think, so they end up just doing the same behaviors they've always done, which is always going to continue to get you the same results and slowly degrade you.
Yes. And once again, I love that the single decision aspect, because the one thing that's been beautiful for me in my life in coaching is, at this point I've coached maybe 1,000 people. You know, I've worked with so many people, and you watch people develop, and you do see exactly what you just said. People are not, I'm going to preach to the camera right now, you are not a year away from your better self. You're not a year away from happy. You're not 3 years away from skinny. You're not 3 years away from loving yourself. You are like a month away.
Yeah.
You're one decision. You're 6 weeks. The amount of people that come to me and are in complete disarray, and they're just like, everything is messed up, and they're not happy, and every part of their life is miserable, and they're just thinking to themselves, why would I even start the climb up this mountain when I know I'm incapable, when I know I can't do it, I know it's just going to embarrass me along the way. And then they start hiking, and quicker than they can imagine, we ski lift their ass right up to the top. And then they're just sitting at the top.
Because that's what's possible.
Yeah, it's possible. Like I said, even regardless of me, I don't even mean just me, I'm saying like anyone is capable of ski lifting themselves right to the top of the mountain. Like losing weight faster than you want, or getting happier faster than you want, fixing your relationship faster than you want. Sometimes a relationship takes one conversation to fix. Almost always one conversation. Most of these problems in your life are one issue away. And I think one thing that I like to say to people is pay attention to the worst case scenario sometimes can have value, at least if you can range it right. So, for example, if you're in a shitty job and you've been there for 10 years or 20 years, and you're thinking to yourself, man, maybe I could do something else, maybe I could, but what if I lose my job, the terror of this, terror of that, come to the realization of, they'll take you back.
Yeah.
And that means
what's the worst that can happen?
That means the worst that could happen is that you live the exact same life you're living now, which means that you're living in the worst case scenario.
Right.
And that's a terrifying thing, to look at your life and go, I'm literally living the worst case scenario.
I think what happens is the only time that people change in life, and this is a very famous quote, so I don't claim to be the one that pioneered it, but people will only change when the pain of staying the same is greater than the pain of changing.
Yes.
And the only way you get there is by, one, surrounding yourself with people that have stepped through that, have healed themselves, have given you a model of what it can be, which is also like reading books, like you creating the environment that serves who you want to become. But the second part is being genuinely, brutally honest with yourself about the costs of staying the same.
I love that.
And that is a painful, painful truth to come to, but when you do, it is actually extremely freeing.
Yes, and I think a lot of people through the process of that freeing would realize I'm capable of more, I can do more. How many people have the thing where they say, I can't do this, I can't do that? They've literally just set a predetermined thing, even on simple tasks, where they go, no, I don't do that.
Yep.
I don't do that. And then you realize, no, you can do that, you should do that, you're more than capable of doing that, and you're capable of so much more.
100%.
I love that.
One of the things from Robert Kiyosaki's book that he teaches that was a big switch for me, that is honestly the book that like flipped the script
Think
for
and
me.
Grow Rich.
Was
Rich Dad Poor Dad.
Rich Dad Poor Dad. I actually read Think and Grow Rich later. I think most people start with Think and Grow Rich.
Yes.
But he said, whenever you tell yourself you can't do something, you shut off all creative thinking and the possibilities for it to be true.
Yes.
Instead of saying, I can't afford something, you ask yourself, how can I afford it?
Yes.
And then it allows your subconscious, your reticular activating system, and your mind to go to work to make that possible for you. One of the biggest hacks you can do in your life, if you are stuck in a job or whatever, is to make a vision board.
Yes.
As stupid as it'll sound, if you make like the dream life of exactly what you want, you post pictures of the car you want, the house you want, if you want to speak on stages, if you want to have a six-pack, which is on my vision board, and then you list out your most important goals. If you look at that every single day, you are subconsciously priming your subconscious to go find those results for you, and to pay attention when the opportunities arise. The problem is if you are not triggering your subconscious every day to get to the results that you want, your mind is not paying attention to it, and it'll just blindly go past the opportunities because the clock is always ticking.
Yes.
And opportunities pass you by every single day because you choose not to have a heightened awareness and a deeper self-understanding.
I love that. I love that. Gosh.
This feels good, man.
Yeah, it's getting hot. It's getting hot. The thing when the heat starts getting you notice the words start slipping up a little bit more.
Yep.
This is the point in the podcast where you start seeing people feel it. Let's just say that. They feel it. This is the part where people start tapping. This is the part where people start getting rough. So let's go into the fun questions now.
Okay.
Let's leave the philosophy behind. Let's get into the fun stuff. How does Jordan Wildman like to spend his time outside of work? What are the things that you love doing that have nothing to do with work and nothing to do with success? What are those hobbies?
I love to travel. I actually think most of my perspective comes from traveling.
Yes.
Because crazy shit will happen that is so far out of your norm. The problem is most people go through their entire life, they take the same routes to work, they do the same things every day. We are 95% subconscious habits of everything that we do.
Yes.
And until you start consciously interrupting those habits, you're always going to stay the same.
Yes.
So like Joe Dispenza says something as silly as, if you just go in the bathroom mirror when you wake up, and if you're right-handed, you normally brush your teeth with your right hand, use your left hand to brush your teeth.
Yes.
And tell yourself you love yourself 20 times in the mirror. that is going to freak your subconscious out.
Yes.
But it's a game. The whole game is right here.
Yes.
And if you can learn to play the game with yourself, you can have genuinely whatever you want in your life.
This is where I get into that mind, body, spirit thing, which I think is so beautiful, which is that people, you know, I think a lot of people hopefully realize they have a soul, and that soul is them, and that is who you are as a divine entity, whatever.
So
and
much
all the
deeper than
details.
just your mind.
But you have your mind. Your mind is a tool that you have access to. Think of it like a massive library or a massive business that you can step into and utilize when you need it.
Yeah.
And I think there's something beautiful in the fact of having a healthy body so that your mind can function right. And then having a healthy business, which is the mind, that functions right and makes you feel good and sets you up in your soul for success and happiness, and then having a good soul on the way to help others and love and feel happiness. Happiness comes eternally. What would be another thing on the list that Jordan loves to do with his time?
Can I speak to what you said
go
real
ahead.
quick? I think the problem with people is because of their limiting beliefs, because they have not healed themselves, because they're, one, not worth other people's health, they don't want to impact other people, they don't want to hurt people when people are trying to help them,
Yes.
is they have a poor relationship with themselves and they are not willing to receive.
Yes.
When you are not willing to receive from the people that love and care about you in your life, you're actually robbing them of the opportunity to give to you. It's one of the most selfish things and taker things that you can do in any relationship. If someone genuinely wants to give to you out of the goodness of their heart to help you, it is more of a gift for them to give you the gift.
Yes.
And when you are not willing to receive because I don't want to hurt them, you know, like they've already done so much to me, as long as you are putting in the work and you are committed to changing, like that is the greatest gift you can ever give somebody. Like you're in coaching, if somebody actually follows your advice, that's the greatest gift that they can freaking give you. Not even the money.
No, sincerely. So there's nothing worse than someone, because I think people will go, well, the coach is upset because I'm not getting good results because, you know, they have high standards, they want to have results for the website, or they want to. No, it's that we genuinely love and care for our
putting in
people.
your effort?
Are you putting in what's best for you? Are you changing? Are you transforming? Are you becoming that best version of yourself?
Are you willing to let me lead you?
Yes.
Most people in life are terrible at being led, and they're even worse at leading themselves.
Yes.
And that is the biggest disservice you can do to your own potential and other relationships. If you are somebody who can lead yourself well, you actually are able to give to others.
Yes.
What I have found is if you imagine a water cup, oh, it's getting hot. This is good. If you imagine a water cup and inside the cup is the water that represents your attention, your energy, your soul, your potential. If you are always, what most of us are taught is to be selfless, and you're always pouring into other people's cups till yours is empty and you have nothing left to give, you are never actually truly giving. You're giving from a place of scarcity, because you're never giving your fullest and best self. The other thing that people are taught is to be selfish, which is where I hold on to the water in my cup and I don't give any of it because I don't have any to give.
Yes.
That's also scarcity, because you're never actually giving or receiving. The only way that I have found to work, and that has given me tremendous progress in my life, is to allow God, myself, and others to pour into my cup so much that what I give is the overflow.
Yes.
I am always giving from my fullest and best self. And that takes true vulnerability, it takes courage, and it takes willing to love yourself so much that you know you are worth other people's love.
Yes.
Yeah.
Beautiful, man.
To answer your question, I love pickleball. I love ultimate frisbee. I love sports where it's like I don't have to think about it. Cardio.
Yes, yes, that's the best type of sport.
Yeah.
Get your workout in, not stress about it.
Yes.
Good. Just in case the tap comes soon, I want to preliminarily set up the camera with how they can connect with you. So, this is Jordan Wildman. How can we connect with you on Instagram, Facebook, online, websites? How do we get a house from you? How do you be my realtor? Give me everything.
Yeah. So if you want to find me on Instagram, it's at WildmanJordan. My last name is Wildman. No one ever believes me, 7 days a week. Or just Jordan Wildman on Facebook. I got the blue check. If you want to call me or text me, you can use my office line. It's 260-200-3855.
Beautiful.
And if you're looking for a great coach to take you to the next transformation in your life, both spiritually, physically, mentally, and everything beyond what you ever imagined possible, Hercules Training will get you there. Let's go.
Thank you. Thank you. How you feeling?
Feeling great. I'm feeling good.
Beautiful. Beautiful. I might be the one that taps today. Man, this is the hard thing about the sauna, man. It sneaks up on you. It gets you.
I'm riding a line.
I'm riding the line. Let's push that line. Let's
Okay.
fight it. Let's fight it. We're going to tap at the same time.
Okay.
But, so obviously we've heard success. We've heard how you like to spend your time. We've seen how you set up your philosophy. We've done all that. When it comes to business, having business friends, having business relationships is one of the most beneficial things you can have.
Yeah.
Tell me a little bit about how that's influenced you.
I mean, it's so inspiring. Like I was talking about earlier, if you have people that are so committed to their self-growth and they're becoming better, it's so addicting because you want the same. It's just when somebody's brave enough to step into their potential, it actually gives you permission to do the same as well.
Yes.
So I think your environment truly does create who you want to become. And by the way, your environment is multifactorial. It's the people you surround yourself with. It's the content you consume. It's the books you read. It's the food you eat. And whatever you choose, which by the way, all of these things are in your control. This is where you are 100% responsible. The heat's getting to me.
Yeah.
And if you choose to not take responsibility for these things and to be a victim, you are hopeless. Like you have no control over anything in your life. Thankfully, what I have done is I have given my effort to those things and I've surrendered the outcome. Because whatever you believe is your best for your life pales in comparison to what God's best for your life is. And if you are willing to play into His plan, it's way grander and way more fantastic than you could ever imagine.
Yes. Beautiful, man. You're a killer. You're a killer. Oof.
You ready?
Yeah.
Let's go. This is awesome.
Beautiful. Let's do it. Let's hit the metaphorical tap button. Ready? Let's
Okay,
interlock fingers. Let's be just besties. Ready? We're going to smack this fake button. Ready? 1, 2, 3. Ah! So fucking hot. I'm going to die.
I'm gonna die!
Oh, thank you, Jordan, for coming.
Let's go.
I
get
love
the fuck outta
these
here.
saunas. I love doing this, but anybody who watches this shit is no joke. I've been about to pass out for like the last 10 minutes.
Me too.
I'm hurting. I'm seeing the camera flashing, so it's a beautiful time for us to get out of here. Thank you for coming, Jordan. Everyone, if you want to sell a house, go to Jordan. If you want some knowledge, go to Jordan. If you want someone to love you, go to Jordan. And if you want someone to coach you and make you healthy and get you fit this year, you come to me. We'll set you up. But what a beautiful day. Let's get on out of here.
God bless.
Oh my gosh, this steam coming off me is because this man, Jordan Wildman, almost killed me today. I think this might have been the hardest sauna so far. That thing was cranked to the max. We were sitting at almost 190 degrees at the end. If you're not in saunas, 180 for 20 minutes is miserable. That was like 35 or 40 at 190. I genuinely had to fight passing out for almost the entire last 10 minutes. I was actually getting worried, but my man here was filling with so much positivity. I was charging up on it. I was attempting to stay.
Let's go.
And we finished at the same time. What a beautiful day. Thankful for you, Jordan.
Let's go.
Beautiful.